evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio. Your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. And of course, I have my co-host with me, Mark. Say hello, Mark.
Hello.
And man, it has been a season. We have come in for that landing. We are officially in the off season of 2021 and in our plannings of 2022. But the fun and the excitement never ends. And we're going to start the show off with a very exciting partnership. It's one that has been in the works for a while, but as Mark will tell you, we really don't want this party to stop. The downside of the off season is that we're going from an ultra social lifestyle, giving something incredibly unique to people on really an incredibly regular basis, and then it just goes away. And now that we have the Patreon and the means of having folks support us in the off season, we wanted to do something stand out, if you will, for those folks. And we're thinking if this works out well, we may expand it even further. So Mark, why don't you tell them about this amazing partnership, which you, my friend, are responsible for?
Well, the whole thought was, as you said, that we do these monthly Patreon screenings for the Simplex members, which is the top tier members. And it's a lot of fun. We really like it. The Simplex members really like it. And it stinks that goes away because the theater closes. I mean, they could show up anyway in the snow, but there'd be nothing to see. So what we decided was we would do virtual screenings. I had participated in several virtual screenings during the pandemic because a lot of theaters they couldn't open. So they did these things where they would show movies sort of either live or on demand through their websites. And I said, why don't we do something like that? So initially I proposed it as something where we would just show very strange, obscure files I have on my hard drives of hard to find movies, which is what our first one will be. For November this week, actually. You'll hear this after we've already done it. But then I was like, why don't we explore some of these companies we work with that have these extensive film libraries to see if we can get something from them for these virtual screenings. So I reached out to the American Genre Film Archive, AGFA. People who are in the know about flicks and cult movies and things know AGFA, but also if you're into photography, AGFA was a brand of film you could buy for years. So I'm hesitant to just say AGFA because it's like, we're partnering with Fuji. So AGFA is an offshoot of Mondo and Alamo Drafthouse, and they have this insane physical film library, but also they represent many, many entities for licensing for theatrical and online distribution of movies. Like, you think Arrow, home video, you think Something Weird to a degree. There's a lot of companies that they sort of handle the film licensing for. So you look at their list and there's just like some insanely well-known horror cult action titles. And then there's a lot of really, really fun, solid, more obscure titles. And then there's stuff that like nobody's heard of. So what we're hoping to do is for our monthly Simplex screenings, we're going to pick a title. We've already selected one for December. We're picking a title and we will screen that through Zoom. So if you're a Simplex member on our Patreon group, you will get a link that day. And I'm pre-recording a DJ set like I used to at the theater. Only they were live at the theater. They're pre-recorded now. And that will play from about 7 to 8 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. we'll go into some greetings from Virgil and I. You'll see our shining, smiling faces. And then we will go into a pre-show like we normally would have, a bunch of trailers picked to complement the film. The film will always be a mystery. You're not going to know what the title is until it hits your screen. And then the movie will play in full. This also allows us to have like a chat function on the side with Zoom so people can type along and crack wise or ask questions or give information or whatever they want to do. You can choose to do that. You can choose to just watch it as is, have the unfettered experience. So I made a short list of films I would like to consider us showing. It's really like 5 or 6 movies out of like several hundred that they have, and probably honestly at least 100 that I think would be great for us to show. We're going to try to keep it relatively obscure, things that you weren't not likely to have seen in the theater, things that you probably don't own, although some of these things that they represent are available on Blu-ray. We just want it to be fun and the kind of thing, they're still going to be drive-in movies. It's not going to be A Room with a View. It's not going to be Schindler's List. Although, if I may sidestep just a little bit, during the pandemic, drive-ins could be open as we were.
Oh boy, here we go.
There was a drive-in. I'm not going to name them. There was a drive-in in the state of New York that did a double feature of Schindler's List and Pretty in Pink.
Why the second movie Pretty in Pink? That's the mind blower. I get trying to book a Schindler's List, but boy, oh boy, is that
palate
hard.
Cleanser? The girl in the red dress, and I have
for
no
all
idea.
Those those lovers staying for Pretty in Pink.
Well, that was my thing. It's like, how many people who are big fans of Pretty in Pink are going to sit through the 3+ hours of historical misery that is Schindler's List? Great movie, important subject. Just saying, not necessarily an up title, and then you get to that romantic comedy. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be partnering with AGFA to show films virtually for our Simplex members in Patreon, one a month. And we're really, really excited about this. And as Virgil said, if this works out and if we figure out the technology, we may open this up to be something that we do for anybody as a ticketed online screening. It's just something we've never done before. So we're learning the ropes and seeing how that's going to go. But the first test is this week with a file that I have. December will be an AGFA title, and it'll be AGFA going forward for the Simplex screenings, and we'll see who's who and what's what as far as the public option, as they say in healthcare.
Yes, and AGFA already friends of ours. We have worked with AGFA in the past, namely for VHS Fest. If you guys get a peek at their library of titles, you'll see a lot of them certainly fall in that era, in that vein. But we are such fans of them, and Harry, I know, has supplied them with many a film, but they were formed in 2009. And I know that Tim League and the Alamo gang pretty much are the founders of this thing. And they have some huge names tied to overseeing the library, including Paul Thomas Anderson. RZA, I know, is on that list, Frank Henenlotter. So, it's a no-brainer for us to be working with them, but to do kind of this, series that works perfectly with a lot of their titles. Because, it being a 35 millimeter drive-in, if there is not an existing print, or if there is not a good existing print, then it's pretty much not going to play at the Mahoning. But, all you have to do is kind of peruse this list, and tons of titles are going to jump out, and you'll say, oh my God, it'll be so excellent to have the Mahoning experience with this thing. And that's why we go to them a lot for VHS Fest. Not that they don't have an amazing 35 library, but we're so tapped into that. Hey, we have the rights to this title that is a VHS gem and maybe being worked on a restoration. But yeah, we love those guys. And it's so exciting because it might actually mean that we can do some stuff in the off season, where, again, like on a personal, emotional level, it becomes this thing of like, God, I miss just what we do. And I love the fact that Val's still coming up with recipes for her special. And, I was pitching it to Mark that we should definitely work in the idea of a double feature and intermission reel and all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I'm up for just about anything. I think we're just taking it slow because it still is going to be, we're keeping it traditionally to, it was always a Thursday night screening because it wouldn't interfere with a weekend at the theater. And we're keeping it to Thursday for the folks who always used to do that. And it doesn't theoretically interfere with weekend plans, but people still do. I'm told people still do work and get up in the morning. So that we have to be careful with when we start and when we end things. One interesting thing about AGFA, as you made me realize, many entities will license you, a film they have the rights to. Many entities, if there is a new restoration of something, only want you to play that. So there have been titles that we wanted to play at VHS Fest, but we couldn't play on tape, which is what VHS Fest is, because there was a new digital 4K restoration. And there are people like Frank Henenlotter and William Friedkin who only want you to play the DCP of their films. They don't want a film print run because they want it to look the way the film is intended as far as their vision and, color and content and edits and all that stuff. So this is a way, dealing with AGFA now in this virtual realm, that we can run things that we literally can't run at the theater. So that's exciting for us.
Yeah. And to have that tie-in as well, where, you know, we have Vinegar Syndrome out, we have these big guns out, and when they're planning a big release for a restoration that they spent years on and blah, 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 it's really great to have a platform to be able to not only play that restoration, but comment on it and have an experience with it, you know? So I would imagine if this goes well, those like-minded companies that we work with would love jumping on board with us.
That's the kind of thing I'd like to. We haven't really explored it yet because we're only about a week or so out of the theater being closed and exploring this new virtual realm. But as you mentioned, Vinegar Syndrome, most of their titles are available through AGFA for digital licensing. And a lot of these companies we're friends with, or filmmakers we're friends with. I'd love to feature some rare or unreleased or some pre-release stuff as a virtual screening for Patreon or for something else too, as a way of, you know, helping, you know, share our audience with the audience of others. And it allows us to keep curating, you know, that's what you're doing all year. I'm doing it once a month with these Patreon screenings, and it allows us to still keep scratching some of the itches that we get during the drive-in season. You know, I was talking to somebody, and it's like being on tour, either in a band or part of the road crew for a band, and you're on tour, and you know you're
great
firing on all cylinders, and then suddenly the tour's over and you're home and you're like, well now what do I do? So we're trying to find ways to keep the theater alive, to keep engaged with our customers and our friends, and also, you know, keep putting on a show.
Yeah.
And you did mention something Val's doing at the Simplex screening. She would often do a dessert that was themed to the movie. Now, we never tell anybody what the movie's going to be, but she would see the movie or know about it ahead of time and pick, you know, a dessert themed after where the film is set. Or we ran a women in prison movie, and she did desserts that were all based around food that you would get in a prison commissary.
Oh, and so good.
And it was really good. So for this screening that's coming up this week, she's actually, this is where I benefit more than anybody. Put together this meal that is based around where the film we're screening, Secrets film, is set, and took photos of all the ingredients, took photos of the preparation, made it. We ate it last night. It was really good. And we're posting basically the recipe and the ingredients and the photos on Patreon. So if people want to make that in advance of the show and eat that at home too, that's another way we're all sort of joined together.
Yeah, it's again an extension of our community, and it's a great time to promote the Patreon if you guys want to jump in on that this month. And moving into the off season, patreon.com/Mahoning Drive-In. And you can get all sorts of fun in the off season. We're working on the web store, which is developing rapidly. A lot of people have been asking about gifts for the holidays. Mark went ahead and made sure that we had gift cards for this holiday season. So all sorts of great stuff going on for you guys to be able to enjoy.
Hiya, hiya, hiya. They're shrimply delicious. Hiya, hiya, hiya. You'll go for that mouth-watering, taste-tempting, meaty shrimp mixture all wrapped up in a crispy noodle jacket. It's a treat you can't beat. So come on, join the folks that are getting fresh, crispy Flavo shrimp rolls now at the snack bar. They're shrimply delicious.
We're going to steamroll right into some off-season plans. That certainly is a big part of it. But I just got back from a visit with our friends at Neshaminy Creek Brewery, who, if you guys have been out to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, likely you're a fan of the Trenton Punk Rock Flea Market, which was held at Neshaminy Creek many, many years. And they approached us on doing a collaboration for a summer beer, and we are certainly excited about it. So we got some stuff literally brewing in the off season there, and we may get the fans involved, because I sent a message to our core group of managers and asked them, like, hey, what do you think a good name for this thing would be, you know? So maybe it'll be fun to kind of tap into the audience as well on that. But everywhere I go, off season or on season, but certainly in the off season, people start pitching.
Well, I was saying at the staff party, I think we figured out the rest of the season.
Yes. Yeah. It's natural. Like, people start to wonder, like, what's going on? Like as soon as I, leaned on the bar at the creek, it was, hey, what do you got going on? Here's what I'm thinking would be the perfect double feature, So, and I love it. People ask, if we take that suggest a double feature box thing seriously. And literally I have all of those papers here ready to be logged in the log books at this point. And yes, we look at every single one, we log every single one, and it comes really in handy during the off season when that's pretty much all I'm thinking about. I mean, it's funny because the way that we have developed with our annual events, people can almost guarantee or they know when certain events are going to be. And for the calendar, it's really just like a Tetris game as far as putting those new events in place or traditional events in place and moving forward. So it's an exciting time. We got a lot of really fun stuff going. But the thing I did mention to Mark was it's going to be an eclectic season at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We're just like we did this year with trying to spread our wings with the Sundays, the Disney, the one-off events. We're going to try to do a lot of those, and very exciting the stuff that we have coming up. So what was your big pitch at the staff party, Mark?
Should we say? I thought these were supposed to be surprises. Because I do have a pitch that I've pitched a few times, and I actually sent an email to inquire about rights and costs just before we started recording. Yes. There was one that was brought up by Tom Bafulco as a joke. And he was joking around with some folks that were at the staff party saying, what's the least popular, most money losing idea we can have. And his was a Don Knotts double feature. And
yes,
Nuts for Knots. And he said he would draw the poster, and he would make these masks that you could cut out with the big bug eyes. And he had the food special all figured out, and the two titles all figured out, which is actually a double feature I did go to a few years ago. My friend Ian runs the Somerville Theater in Boston.
And I would book.
Oh, yeah.
We would book. 100%.
But that's the thing. When he told me he was joking, and I'm like, I would go see that. I actually did pay for that. I know there are prints. I mean, I'm like, I'm ready to go with this. So that was the one we kept joking about repeatedly. I said it should.
I like your title better.
Well, this is the title I told my friend he should have called his double feature at the Somerville years ago, Double Knots. It was 2 movies. And the Don Knotts double is absolutely doable. And I think it's not a bad idea. We don't do a lot of comedy. We don't do a lot of older comedy. We do horror because people show up and pay to see it.
Yes,
unlike some other things, but
we've been talking about the Jerry Lewis events.
I would seriously do
that. Would be amazing. Like, no joke. That is my wheelhouse. But we're gonna call it Hoyven Lady Weekend.
How many Y's in Hoyven?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, certainly every single week trying to chip away at the calendar for next year. I spoke to Harry. Tunnel Vision Tuesdays, 100% a go. So you guys have all of that to look forward to. The guys down at Neshaminy Creek were pitching the, more music events. The idea of like Pink Floyd's The Wall or Woodstock when we did that. And there's several very fun music themed events that we're looking forward to. So you guys have so much to look forward to.
That Woodstock weekend felt like you were at a concert. The vibe overall, it was people like tailgating and walking around, and they had their shirts, and you were watching a concert on the big screen. And that night I was like, we should do a concert film series, even if it's 1 or 2 a year. Like, you've got Song Remains the Same, you've got Stop Making Sense. There's a lot of really good concert movies, and that would be kind of cool. Yeah. I mean, The Wall was surprisingly very well attended. That was a big surprise for us.
Oh, it was a smash. And it is. It's almost like being able to go to a concert safely with this whole, madness going on in the world. So certainly have a lot of that to look forward to. Disney, for sure. We will be tapping into that. Like we mentioned on the podcast previously, we now have access to the Fox Vaults as well, which is under the Disney umbrella. So we're going to try to appease that library as well next year. Tons of fun. And on top of that, the guests. So this is really the time of year where, a lot of guests are booking out their calendar for next year. And we've become a home for guests to come and meet their fans. And now that we've set the bar, it's really, really difficult. But there's a lot of meat on that bone, let me just tell you. So those of you guys that love coming out and getting your goods signed, having those once-in-a-lifetime experiences with the stars, you'll certainly be able to get that. And we just released our wrap-up of the 24-hour-thon, but I was chatting with Harry as little as I could see him at the event, and his plans. You guys know it. If you're a fan of the Mahoning, Harry don't mess around, and his motto is, I gotta top my last show. So,
and for a guy who's been doing it for 20 plus years,
yeah,
it's amazing. And like we talked about in that Horror-thon episode, how amazing a lineup that was. And he never repeats a title in the Horror-thon. And that's like the 14th one of those 24-hour shows he's done. That's a lot of movies. And he still keeps whacking it out of the park every year after year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Prepare yourself for an unbelievable night of uncontrollable fear. As Filmways presents the Monster Mayhem Marathon. 3 incredibly scary shock shows, 5 full hours of non-stop nightmares. Tales from the Crypt, the most honored horror film in history. They Came From Within, a night of creeping crazy terror, and The Incredible Melting Man. 3 blood-curdling films filled with crawling terror, macabre madness, and stark naked horror. 3 shockers for the price of only 1, and free to everyone brave enough to try it. A fright protection card and a Monster Mayhem Club membership card, plus your chance to register for a free year's pass to the theater. No purchase necessary. The Monster Mayhem Marathon. If you live through it, you'll never be the same. From Filmways, rated R.
Why don't we talk about our crew party? So every single season, we have gotten into the tradition of the weekend after we close, jumping back in and doing kind of a private feature for the crew, extension of the family, volunteers, really anybody who helped make the season happen. And this year was no different, except it was 2 weeks after, because we were all literally, I think we were all at the 24-hour.
I made that request when I saw the date for the 24-hour show, because I realized rapidly more and more of our adult crew were going to that show. And it would have, a lot of the adult crew and a lot of our regulars and volunteers, I think it was almost everybody except Jeff and the kids went to the show. Right. So I had asked if we could kick it out a week later than normal. So it was last weekend from when we record this.
Yeah, it was the 13th, Saturday the 13th. And we were able to get our immediate crew together for a nice lunch over at the Beacon. Our gracious friends and fans, Rick and Chris, owners of the Beacon, opened up their doors to us. We had a lovely lunch. We exchanged some gifts. Sandy is really great at surprises. She really loves giving people surprises. Even for each piece of merch, she loves holding on to it, getting it all done, and then being like, do you want to know? Or do you want to be surprised like everybody else? But she put together a really beautiful personalized mug for the entire staff. Something to take home with people for the off season. And it was really, really nice. And we had just won the Business of the Year award from the Lehigh Carbon Chamber at the Gala Awards that they do the night before. So I was able to bring in the awards and all of that great stuff so everybody could see all the love that it's seemingly is never ending coming in. So it was just a really great time. And then after that, we hopped over to the theater, which the Beacon's only, 5 minutes down the road, not even. So why don't you tell people how the kind of invite situation all went?
Yeah, it was based on height. No one under 4 foot was allowed in.
That's how it goes. In the past, we've done a big kind of group chat. And,
that is unwieldy. And yeah, I set up as these private Facebook events because the group chats, you can't go back and find information easily in them. So we invited all the staff and some of our regulars and volunteers and all that. And it's similar to what we've done every year. We do it as a potluck. Everybody who can, is able, wants to bring or make something. They bring their own food. We have, a little bit of stock left at the theater, but we also don't want the snack bar staff to have to be really working the party, which is celebrating the end of the season. So it's mostly just whatever you bring in there, and order a bunch of pizzas from the place up the street. And, the snack bar is decked out with all of that, and somebody's playing some music, and there's usually a barrel fire, and we'll eventually run a film print. So the idea is always that nobody's really having to work so much at the staff party. Like it's one of the rare opportunities, like the 24-hour fest, where we can all get together and there's no pressure of having to put on a show or having to serve customers. It's just everybody. And the dynamics of the workplace are kind of gone. The hierarchy is kind of gone. We're all just kind of hanging out, which is very rare at the theater. So everybody brings food, and we have all that. There's a barrel fire that goes for pretty much the duration once the sun goes down, and it's fun. It's casual, and you kind of wandering around here and there. Our good friend Jeff C brought a film that we did run. I feel like we ran that film this year, but
we did. It was this year? Well, I remember, the one I remember is when we played it with Evil Dead, I believe.
Maybe.
And this might have been 2015. Like, literally. I remember Maddie and Corey did a video promo for it.
Yeah, we played it more recently than that. Well, we can talk about it. It's the movie is Pieces from 1982, which is
awesome.
Amazing. Like, that's one of those movies I did not watch for many years. It was super easy to see. It was viewed as public domain for a long time. So like everybody had it out as like a $1 DVD or a videotape. And I finally saw it at a drive-in show in Coxsackie, New York, that a friend puts on, the Dead Till Dawn show, which actually Daryl helps out with a lot. And they ran it as part of their show. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is amazing. This is wonderful. It's unintentionally hilarious. Why did it take me so long to watch that? So when I saw that Jeff had Pieces, I was excited and I might have been one of the only people who actually went out to their cars at the party and sat and watched the movie until I came in at one point to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, everybody's still inside. I might be being rude by actually going out and watching the movie. So I came back in, but it was amazing. And the print was perfect.
It was.
I kept thinking, this looks like it could be digital. There's no specs. There's no lines. The color's great.
Yeah, it is a perfect drive-in movie.
Yes.
It's a perfect audience movie. I would have loved to watch that at an indoor as well. But my experience, the reason I love the crew party is it's obviously freezing cold. Jeff always says, Mother Nature tells us when to close. Yeah. And it was freezing. But we do this big bonfire, and as many of us that can kind of huddle around the fire and try to have the speaker out there and watch the movie. So we can all kind of speak and react on the movie, and whew, does Pieces deliver? Holy crap. For those who don't know, spoiler alert, but it literally closes with a dude getting his nards ripped off and then credits. We freaked out. It was so great. High five. It was excellent.
There's spontaneous kung fu by a Bruce Lee impersonator.
Yes, it has everything that you could want. That's why I say, like, getting my lady getting fancy to watch horror movies with me isn't always an easy task, but man, that'll do it as far as just entertainment.
Okay, the Mahoning Drive-In upper staff's highest recommendation, Pieces. Grindhouse Releasing has a very nice Blu-ray of that movie out. I think it might even be a multi-disc set. It's Pieces is well worth seeking out. It's very gory. It's dumb. It's laughably bad. It doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense here and there, and it is full-on drive-in entertainment.
Yeah. But yeah, of course, the barrel fire went deep into the night. We started saying our goodbyes as everybody started trickling off into the night. It's great to be able to have one last celebration, one last kind of gathering, if you will, get everybody together, invite and bring people into the inner circle. Mark always jokes, if you get invited to the crew party, look out. Because we've gotten so many amazing staff off of the crew party.
There are staff members who were invited to a crew party one year and were asked to be full-time employees the next.
Yes. So, and that's really great. It's always amazing to see our family grow. And this year was such a roller coaster ride, but the crew was such a blessing. We are beyond a family, and especially after this year, like, we all leaned on each other when things seemed so impossible. We worked ourselves to the bone. I made a post online, just under 100 events when you include the weddings and the community events and all that. 100. That's insane for a theater that not only 2 years ago wasn't even open on Sundays. We were a Friday, Saturday outfit to now open that up to basically a full-time theater, you know, as far as your Monday through Friday terms. But it was magical, and I get very emotional when I think back on this year, and I joke that I'm going to need 6 months to process it all. But this was as big a game change year as Al caught with At the Drive-In documentary when we first started catching on. The Mahoning Drive-In Theater has become synonymous with not just film, but the underdog story. And I think that's a big part of our success, is that folks get behind the mom and pop appeal of what we do and the heart of what we do. And because of everything that happened this year and the press and the potential buyout and all that stuff, everybody is talking about the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. That's what the chamber told us when we won our award. They said, you know, this has been an amazing year for you guys, and you guys deserve this award more than anybody in the area. And that's an incredible honor after what has been seemingly year after year of difficult hurdles, shifts. We always joke, like, is this the year that things just go smoothly?
Well, and then, you know, there were a few years where we had off-season issues where, you know, everything's buttoned up and we're just rolling right along doing, you know, normal life. And then somebody messages us, and I got the message first, and it's like, hey, I just drove by your sign. It's on the ground. The elements and strong winds basically knocked our roadside marquee sign over, and that was this big undertaking to try to pay to get that restored or rebuilt.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we're good. And then the next year, part of our screen falls down.
Yeah, a month before we opened.
It was in the works to have it fixed. We had seen where there was some issues. The wood that was provided the backing of the screen was, you know, the weather and 8 years had aged it to the degree where we knew we were going to have to fix it. But then yet another winter windstorm came along, and that was a big expense and thing we had to figure out how to do right before we opened. So this year, everything was during the season. So it was trying to deal with these insane things while we're also trying to put shows on. Sometimes while we're putting a show on, insane weather issues or structural things are going on. So it's, you know, when you're dealing with this theater that's 70 plus years old and pretty authentically not updated, these things are going to arise. You just kind of always wish they would arise on a weekday or in, you know, February, not in July with the biggest crowd ever.
Yeah, and that's again where, you know, the family factor comes in with us being able to get through this season together, and such a victory for all of us across the board. And then again, to receive this honor with the local chamber and everybody voting for us, it's just a magical situation. Continue to hold on to that magic carpet. That's what it feels like. It really does. So we'll see where this takes us.
You like our pizza pies, made from a famous Italian recipe. They're waiting for you right now at the concession stand. Enjoy tempting food at its best.
So I know that we have a voice message. Am I right, Mark?
We do. Our good friend John Demmer, speaking of the family and the team, John Demmer, if we haven't spoken enough about the man, about John and Cindy, John is a master carpenter and historical expert, I believe. It's not his official job title, but it's close enough. He helped us in a big way when we were going up against losing the business, losing the property earlier in the season. And also for the last year or more, he's been helping to either constructing or helping to construct the amazing outdoor photo ops you've been seeing. He'll design them and JT will assemble them, or John will come out and help to assemble, or previously his brother Steven was coming out and assembling them. And basically he'll make like the old fashioned, you know, order a house from Sears kit, only it's order a abattoir from from John Demmer's kit, where he'll have all of the pieces that are cut and ready to go. And some people on the site and our lot guys will help with that too. So he's been amazing to us, for us. He's helped up our game immensely. He and JT working together created some things I couldn't believe I was seeing this year. You know, I didn't always know what they were doing. So I would show up on site and it would be like, wow. And it allows people to feel like they're stepping into the movie they're there to see that night. If you saw the Nest photos or the Chainsaw Massacre photos, or he built the cabin for Evil Dead.
Yes.
Bruce Campbell out that wound up getting repurposed all throughout the season last year for other things, and mystically transformed again and again into the Michael Myers house, into the Elm Street house, into a cabin for Frankenstein when we ran the Universal Monster movies. So this is a message from him.
Oh, nice. I was wondering why you were all of a sudden talking about John.
He's just a nice guy.
He is a great guy. Now, him and James work very well.
Look, I'm going to talk about John Demmer as often as possible, okay, officer? I got pulled over today. Did 20 minutes on the Demmers. It was great. Okay, I'm going to play these.
Hey, guys, it's John Demmer. I was just listening to your last podcast where you're talking about movies that sort of made an impression on you, especially when you were young. And two came to mind for me. They're not really movies, or I guess they are, but they were TV movies. And they both involved sort of like little creatures. And the first one was the Trilogy of Terror, 1975. And that was 3 stories and all had Karen Black in them. But the one I found really to be the most scary was the third one with the little Zuni doll that had the warrior spirit in it. And somehow it broke loose and the doll came to life and it was attacking her. I thought that was a pretty interesting movie. And then the other one was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, 1973. And that's with the little demons who lived in the chimney. And in that one, new owners of the house come in and the wife starts to hear and see things. And it just turns out there's these little sort of demon creatures that will only come out at night or in dark areas of the house. And there was just this terrific scene near the end with involving a camera with a flash on it. And it was just really scary at the time. And these things weren't necessarily great movies, but I think, like you said, they hit you at a time in your life where you're very vulnerable and very impressionable. And they just sort of stamp an imprint on your mind. So even though they're not high quality movies, they're really fun to watch. And when I do see them come on, I always make it a point to sit and watch them because it brings me back to that time when I was a little kid and just sort of liked being scared by those kind of things. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention those two. And Mark, got to give you credit for that great shout out to In Search Of, which again in my youth was another show that I really, really enjoyed and liked a lot and took a lot of interest in it. So much so that even as an adult, Cindy and I drove down to see the Coral Castle, and that was the guy who moved all those stones by himself. So it was nice to hear you mention that show. I really enjoyed that, and I'm glad to hear that somehow it's available on DVD, which I'll have to search for and look for that. Anyway, take care, guys, and that's my input for the day. Thank you.
TV movies of the past are like
so impressionable on you.
They were really well made, and it's like, I don't want to say it's the last frontier, but it's something that has really not been exploited a lot on home video. Some got videotape releases. The two he mentioned, Trilogy of Terror, is actually out from Kino Lorber. We've given away and sold multiple copies of that at the drive-in this season. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is out on Blu-ray from Warner Archive.
You know, I don't know if I've ever seen Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I was getting that mixed up with When a Stranger Calls. I think they have similar maybe cover art or something for the VHS, but when he described it, I was like, no.
It was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was remade by Guillermo del Toro a couple of years ago. And I still, because I saw the original when I was younger, I prefer the original. It could be seen as laughable to modern eyes because it is, full-size people in these creature costumes that are shot to look like they're smaller, but It is this thing. It's never really explained, which I'm okay with. You don't need to explain where everything comes from. It's just this woman moves into this house and every time the lights go out, these little creatures start coming around and they're trying to kill her. And that's all you need to tell a kid.
That's
is that there's something in the dark that's trying to kill you. When you turn the lights off, it's coming for you. And by the way, they're housed in the basement. So if you need to go in the basement, keep an eye on that furnace grate. So yeah, it's Kim Darby, who played the mother in Better Off Dead later, and Jim Hutton are the couple in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And then it's predominantly Karen Black. It's Trilogy of Terror was done by Dan Curtis, who did Dark Shadows, and he did the Night Stalker TV show, and he did Burnt Offerings and Winds of War later. And it was just this 3 little stories. They might have been written by Robert Bloch or Richard Matheson. They might have been written by somebody notable. And it's each one has Karen Black in a different role, but it's that third one with that Zuni fetish doll, this little like African warrior doll. And funny he mentions that because somebody donated to us, some amazing benefactor we have at the drive-in showed up and handed Sandy a larger than life-size toy of that doll for us to
that blew our minds. We were like, what? We got some amazing raffle prizes, but that was a hell of a raffle to go out on. Andy's a humongous fan of this film and talks about it all the time. I've seen him wearing the shirt too. But is that something we could ever play?
In theory, I don't know if it was ever released on 35 because it was made for TV.
That would be
sometimes TV movies were released theatrically overseas. We have screened Gargoyles from 72 on a 35 print. That was struck for some reason. So it's possible we might be able to find it on 35. It's also possible it could be licensed through Kino Lorber for a digital screening.
Right. Hey, if anyone can find it, Harry would.
Yeah, that's true. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is the same thing. It was made for TV, so it's not likely there would be 35 prints. There could be 16 prints out there, but I don't know. That's an interesting thing. I think some indoor theaters, actually possibly Harry, have done screenings on 16 millimeter of old TV movies, but I don't know if anybody has done it on 35, and I don't know of any drive-ins who have ever done it.
Can you hear my gears turning? Yeah. Well, John, we love you. I'm sure you might have mentioned it, but John and Cindy, even when they have worked on the photo op, they will do up their vehicle every single. It's become a character on the lot. They have a perfect spot. And John and Cindy, when they would come before, they would set up their drive-in speaker. They have some amazing Detroit die-cast stand-ups, twins, and they will play, their music and chill out. But this year they went above and beyond. It's like the car became a character. They became characters. It was awesome.
They're set up for Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, epic.
John was Clint Eastwood with the little cigarello or Tipperello or Cinderella or whatever it's called. And Cindy was a bandito. And they had like a hitching post with a little, the hobby horse, the kind of the horse. It's like a horse's head on a stick that you hop around with. They had one of those. They really decorate the entire car. And oftentimes too, they have an old tray from like a drive-in restaurant that you would hang on your window, and they'll print up and design a menu where all the items are joke menu items themed to whatever we're showing that night. It's really impressive.
They are the perfect drive-in fans. They are a couple that really embraces it. They come and get creative together. It's just, they rock. They really.
John, at least, is a huge fan of A Christmas Story, as are many of us. And he has like a crazy collection of replicas of props from the movie, or the actual, not screen used, but if they had a certain kind of radio in the movie, he's tracked one of those down. Like I've seen photos of like what he has at home. It's really impressive. He's got his own little mini Christmas Story house, in his house.
He has reached out and certainly poked about the idea of going all out with a Christmas Story event, and some of those actors, they are out there, they are doing the rounds. So that might actually be a great one for Christmas in July.
That makes a lot of sense for a Christmas in July, that and Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. A little something for Dad at the end.
Yeah, a little Mahoning hook.
Whatever the one is with Mickey Rooney. There's one with Mickey Rooney in it.
Does Ernest Borgnine star in any Christmas horror movie?
I don't know. Was it one of the Borgnine? I don't know. We're going to go with Willard. We're going to go with Poseidon Adventure, Dirty Dozen, Super Fuzz, and 5 more.
Yes.
That's the Borgnine.
Keep it going, kids.
Bunny O'Hare was not the normal type mother, except she thought her kids deserved the best, and she got it for them the only way she knew how.
That bank robbed me of everything I own. Well, I'm going to rob them.
Rob a bank?
So, just like Bonnie and Clyde, who killed people, Bunny and Bill robbed banks to provide the necessary improvements. Meet Bunny O'Hare, wanted for armed robbery, and her partner Bill Green. Together they parlayed a quick draw and a fast bike into instant bank returns. Remember, Bunny O'Hare knows best when it comes to providing for her kids.
This is a stick-up. I've got a gun in my purse. How would you like to have your guts spilled all over this floor? I'm going to open you up like a can of tomato soup.
See Betty Davis, Ernest Borgnine in Bunny O'Hare with Jack Cassidy and Joan Delaney. In color, rated GP.
So yeah, we're super excited about the off-season happenings. For myself, I'm trying to sharpen up the children's book that we've been teasing, trying to get the pages together for that. And I'm kind of going like a lyrical route. You know, there's always this thing with me now that I have a little munchkin that I read to. I much more enjoy a book that rhymes and has the flow and that. So I'm trying to rework the story of it all into a kind of la-di-da easy flow. So really excited about that. And the partnerships, you know, like I said, with Neshaminy Creek, that's just one of many that we're going to be working on. I mean, you know it, Mark. We go from being so busy and so worried about what's going to get up on the social medias. What do we have to promote today? What do we have to, you know, stay on top of, to really having way more free time. And for myself, I always want to stay busy. I know Mark's in the same mode. So we're going to try to keep as many things going in the off season and brewing in the off season as we possibly can.
So one thing we want to remind people is that you can send us voice messages to be played on this podcast or to be heard by us who do this podcast. If you go to anchor.fm/Mahoning Drive-In, that is our Anchor FM page. That's where you can listen to the podcast, but also there should be a button there that says message or voice message or leave a message or leave a voice message or words that involve message somewhere. And doing that, it allows you to record via your phone or your computer's microphone, 59 or so second message. So as John did, he left us multiple messages. And if they give you a timer and you can keep an eye on it, leave us a 10-minute message. We'll cut it down to 3, but leave us a 10-minute message. Leave us a message as long as you would like. It doesn't have to be limited to a minute. Tell us about your favorite Mahoning memory, movies that scared you as a kid, drive-ins that you used to go to, drive-in memories, the drive-in you go to now. We know people listen to this. I see the stats. People literally all over the world have at least started an episode of this show. So I would love to know about other drive-ins. One of the things I always want to do when I'm in another area, if I see a drive-in, I pull over and I take pictures and I try to see. Every drive-in is unique. You know, they have their own policies and history and ways of doing things and snack bar layout and screen design and all that stuff. So please leave us a message about any and everything. If you have topics you'd like us to discuss on the show, please do that. We're totally in for talking about boxing movies for 30 to 60 minutes. If that's what somebody wants to hear, it won't just be about, you know, what we're doing for the drive-in, especially the off season. We'll have less to talk about in terms of what's going on site, but we certainly will keep telling stories and keep talking about how we do things. But we also just like to talk about films and drive-ins and stuff like that. So anytime, anchor.fm/Mahoning Drive-In.
Get involved, guys. I mean, this whole podcast is about community and the revival of the drive-in culture, which is a community. So getting you guys involved, hearing your voices, sparking topics, things like that. And we love hearing from you guys. I mean, this is, like I said, it's our off season. Keep us sane. If you miss us, literally reach out and you can get involved in the show. I know one of the things that we're working on is tying together the calendar, and we've had a few people reach out about weddings. We're going to be making a post about this, about the deadline for if you happen to want to have your wedding at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. This is something that we do, but it's incredibly limited. As you guys know, we have hella calendar to appease. Most weddings will take place on Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. But if you guys want to get in on that, you can reach out to us via email, which you can find at mahoningdit, like drive-in theater.com.
And the first wedding we had was Sean and Trisha, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It was captured in Alexander Manelli's award-winning At the Drive-In documentary, available now on Finder streaming services and on DVD.
Sean and Trisha now have a little munchkin of their own, a beautiful little munchkin, and they are truly a part of the family. Every time I see them on the lot, they get so much love, not just from us, but from people who recognize them from the movie.
How many weddings have there been? Is it 3, 4?
Gosh, this year there was... I'm going to say there were 4 weddings in total. I'd say we do on about 1 a year, but again, they're pretty sporadic, but we do get asked about them pretty regularly. You know, to have that as an option is really, really fun. This year, we actually have one booked and it's on a Monday. It's absolutely glorious. Yeah, for it to literally not interfere with our actual calendar. So, hey, if you're a quirky couple out there that's all about getting married in the midweek of summer, we're your venue. Come on.
Golden pure creamery butter, rich, flavorful, satisfying. That's what it takes for the finest buttered popcorn, and that's what we use. See for yourself why there's no Showtime treat to equal the crisp, delicious flavor of hot popcorn that's bathed in real melted butter. It's at the concession stand now.
This off-season, like you said, Mark, I would love to connect with some other drive-in owners. I really want to connect with the owner of the Bucks County Twin, my childhood drive-in. I think that would be really cool to go after our childhood drive-ins that may or may not still be there and get a perspective on that front.
That would be amazing to get the full story of a drive-in, or I hate to say the end of a drive-in, but the places that you and I went to aren't there anymore. So to get the perspective of somebody who ran those in their boom and bust days and how it all ended would be kind of interesting to hear for you and I, especially for anybody else.
Yeah. And also we were looking to bring in some guests in the off season. I know that we're going to touch base with our DeLorean friends about a lot of fun. And again, if you guys love what the Mahoning does, this is the place to get the first dish of things to come in 2022. We love talking, and we will certainly be talking about all of that. So,
as you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.
All right, I think on that note, until next time, we love you guys as always. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night and God bless you.